Hi, everybody. I'm Elise, says Another Truth on YouTube. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening to this commentary-only video. I hope you're doing well and that the start of your weekend so far is great. And I wish for the rest of your weekend to be restful and recuperative. My voice is still a little off, but I'm feeling a lot better. I did, as I mentioned before, received a negative influenza test as well as a negative COVID test, and I was cleared um, from having any kind of pneumonia diagnosis. So I am so excited about that because I was worried, because I am at risk for many different things of having secondary infections, having prolonged viruses. And I kept getting the annoying question of like, why is it taking so long for you to get over it? I had influenza A. It's a rough one. And when you have risk factors with that, it can make it worse. But fear not, I'm okay. And I will be okay. And if I'm not okay, I know what to do to help myself in the right way. So thank you for your concern the last few weeks on that. I am hoping to return to full activity soon and getting back into my committee work and in my media classes and starting on a couple of media related projects I'm doing, which will hopefully also teach me some good interviewing skills, good editing skills, good production skills, and perhaps those skills there'll be transferable skills into whatever I do, excuse me, in my future, but also here on YouTube so I can make better quality videos. Finally. But I'm still a little wiped out. I did go to the salon yesterday. It was a gift from my best friend. He wanted to cheer me up because I hadn't been feeling good. The flu, being sick always makes people feel dreadful. But unfortunately, it exacerbated my mental health symptoms. And sometimes having mental health issues exacerbates upper respiratory infections. So it seems like a losing battle sometimes, but I'm okay. So, all right, enough of me. Content warning, I will be using direct language regarding the theme of suicidality, while I do not go into details or exploit or sensationalize anyone's passing. I will talk about that just in terms of how Katie Joy interacts with that level of information. I think I've made my feelings pretty clear in the last video. Secondly, I'm going to be talking about rights and access to public information as much as I know now. So if these things are triggering for you, click out, okay? I understand. I don't want to put you in a situation where you will be upset. You'll feel triggered. You'll experience things that are harmful to your emotional well-being. So I am cognizant of the fact that Katie Joy did request that those particular records in regard to Garrison Brown's untimely death and death by suicide. I know that my astute subscribers and responders have indicated to me that she can request those things and that she has. I was aware of that. I was aware that she did access that, but whether she could access that was a question in my mind, and it's still a question in my mind. Obviously, she got it, but how much of that information was actually available to her. I did watch Nikki's video. It was a very quick video, a short maybe, about, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, that report, I guess, I don't know, was heavily redacted because they knew Katie Joy they were aware of Katie Joy's behavior or whatever, maybe because they received so many inquiries. I made my own inquiry. Um, it's not to get Katie Joy in trouble. It was mainly to express my concern about releasing that kind of information, but also what kind of information would be included in that, since suicide, in my opinion, or my understanding of it, is a medical issue. So, you know, um, I didn't watch that video. I didn't watch that video. I did report it because she should not have done that, because it was a clear breach of the community standards on YouTube. No, I wasn't motivated by emotion, because nuisance, I'm not a nuisance reporter of other content creators. It's only when they are especially egregious. Now, it's one thing to have an overall opinion about egregious behavior. It gets more difficult, especially when you have to report a particular video, and that, at least with my experience of it, I would like to explain why I'm reporting it to them, but I don't know if they're really monitoring that. But going back to Nikki's video, she did point out that another concerned netizen or content creator had contacted YouTube, and YouTube did respond to that. I don't know what the result will be, or if there's been any update to that as of this morning. So I hope that YouTube is actually responding to that and working on that. Now, I do not believe in frivolously reporting things. I do have a right to say, if I see a questionable, like on that, if I were to watch that video specifically, okay, or any video, and it has a controversial matter to it, and I see that there are ads running on it, of course I'm going to contact the advertisers about that, to be careful, because they shouldn't be supporting behavior like this. I don't know how much control they have over that through Google AdSense or anything. But I'm not in the of the mindset of ruining people's lives, their livelihoods, their businesses, or anything like that, where, like, online, when they do their content creation stuff, because I know that they're working and that they're trying to earn money to make a living, by using their talents, their expertise, whatever. But we really cannot have an environment where we're taking people's medical information and mocking them, and using this material for sensationalizing purposes, to attack a family that one doesn't like. That, I think, after thinking about this for quite some time, I guess I'm not against Katie Joy accessing information, because if I were to look at that objectively, as a citizen, as a member of the public, as whatever. She has a right to access those things, access public records. Okay, I do too. We all do. I firmly support that because I believe, I'm not saying I support Katie Joy's accessing that information for nefarious reasons. In general, I support that because it's important for the public to be well informed, for research basis, for educational basis, to satisfy healthy curiosity, um, to understand what is going on in the world, what things are affecting certain groups, how we should act on that. I rely not specifically on individual public or personal records or anything like that. I rely on a lot of the public data on things like heat maps to kind of see where that data was taken of services that are not being received by people, not being offered to people, who is being affected the most by, um, you know, what's that word? Redlining, for instance, or who's not receiving adequate food or things like that. I don't know the individuals affected by that. That is it's a private issue. I don't have access to medical records or anything like that, but I look at the data to see, because that's important. Because in my position, I have to do that, but I'm not going to access someone's public records um, to bring that information to YouTube to abuse people. Now, Katie Joy did that. She accessed those public records. Now, unfortunately, I didn't see the video. I don't know how much of a redaction there was. If I don't know for sure if it was um, redacted by the records office because they were aware. I'm not sure. I made my own inquiries. Once I get answers directly from them and with their permission, I will talk about that information in a respectful manner. Because first of all, I am not going to dunk on that police department or their records. I went to that police department webpage. I was very, very impressed, at least seeing the webpage, that they are a representational department, understanding individual needs of communities, especially communities that are marginalized. Now, I do not live there. I do not know what the demographics are or anything like that, but I found that to be a very welcoming, respectful, community based department that I felt comfortable making an inquiry, a polite inquiry about what is going, asking, um, expressing my concern for Katie Joy, because at that point, the records, she already accessed the records by the time that I was able to do that. But also what the responsibilities are of the person requesting that information to get some clarity on that. And in general, just my own general information. If suicides are public information, is it a medical, could it be a medical issue, privacy kind of thing? So I haven't heard back, so I can't give you any proper detailed facts around that from my end. I know other people have done their own research, but I want to do my own research because I want to interpret it in not my own way, but I want to have my own words, my own research. So I might be behind everybody else on that, but it's okay because I'd rather be understanding of the facts than nothing. And that's the whole point of this. So, but my issue with this is that Katie Joy uses this information to sensationalize things to dox people, to hurt people. Now, as we all know on this platform, she has already done that to other content creators. Okay, she has put them in peril. Their families are being threatened. Families are being temporarily split up. People are having to readjust their lives because they create content that contradicts what Katie Joy states. They speak out against it. And from what I heard of those individuals, I'm not coming to people's defense per se, but I don't see that there were lines crossed that would justify anything like that. Nothing justifies doxing somebody. I'm not going to dox Katie Joy. I'm not going to harass her. I'm not going to encourage people in her community to look out for her. I wouldn't do that. I would never make bullshit calls to do anything like that because it's just not her. It's also her child and her community. I don't care what kind of community it is. I'm not going to disturb those people. Okay, I'm not going to do that. But Katie Joy doesn't have the same thinking that we do because a lot of us have looked at our own behavior and understand. And I say we because I can confidently say that there are some good people in this community. Yeah, we're the anti-Katie Joy. Some of us are more expressive about it than others. Yeah, I mean, we're all subjected to criticism, whatever, and we can get emotionally tied up in it because she is so offensive. And she gets off on that. I mean, that's pretty much what she is. She's offensive, makes offensive content for a living. So of course that defies anything that she does, that she claims that she claims that she does, like being a reporter, a journalist, a media person. Yeah, she's a media person, but she's a professional nobody, in my opinion. A gossiper, a troublemaker, and not even being a troublemaker in a good way. She has created nothing but conflict, fear, embarrassment, and grief. You would think that somebody who is in the business of doing that would have some sort of sense of individual boundaries. I mean, a lot of reporters don't. A lot of reporters lie about things. A lot of reporters misrepresent the facts. They're not free from criticism. They get a lot of blowback from it. Okay. They get their asses handed back to them. I don't know why Katie thinks that she is or should be shielded from that. She's so out of touch with reality. Okay, if she considers herself in the media as a reporter, journalist, independent reporter, or whatever, people have a right to criticize her. We're not only going after her. There are a lot of us, we may not make a lot of content about other things going on YouTube. I certainly don't. But believe me, I say things. I say things on the national news. I've criticized reporters for certain language that they use, for misrepresenting the facts, things like that. Okay? So Katie Joy in her little world of me, thinks she should be absolved from any kind of harsh criticism. Every ounce of criticism, especially around this particular tragedy with the Brown family losing their son to suicide, okay? This particular one was especially egregious. Of course, what she has done to other content creators, it's all in the same line of her not giving a shit about anybody else. But for her to exploit a young man's suicide for cash to express her hatred of men, to misrepresent. She deliberately misrepresents the harm the patriarchy really does to people. She is not informed about that at all. She has no fucking clue what's going on in this world. She just speaks things out of her ass because she knows people will listen to it. Okay? That's just my opinion. I am not the arbiter of all this information on social justice and representation or anything like that. I'm one individual on my own journey of trying to get my mind straight. Of course, I'm not free from criticism, naturally. So, and with this thinking, she doesn't have this. Now, I know morality is subjective, but you would think that she would have this invisible boundary that she just doesn't cross. This moral parameter, the thing that people with good character develop or have. There are just some things you don't do. Okay? Just because she can, she shouldn't. That's something that she should think in her mind. There is having that police record. The only value of having that police record, whatever information was on there, okay, available to her, and hopefully stuff about what happened to the young man was redacted. I don't know. I'm ignorant because I'm ignorant of those facts right now. I don't have the police. I'm not going to watch that damn video. And if I happen to see it on another content creator's thing, I will look at that, and then, I will follow up with any questions if I do indeed get the inquiry from the records department, from the people that I made inquiries to about this. Okay. So Katie Joy didn't need to access those things. The only reason why she did that, in my opinion, I'm not in her mind, was to make sensational content that would have offended people, because that's what makes her money. So in one way, it seems like she pretends that she is this responsible journalist. It looks like that. There's sort of that veneer, but underneath there's like this rotten corkboard, a swollen, rotted corkboard, which is the depths of Katie Joy's soul, which is part of whatever. She's a soulless creature anyway. I don't even really believe in souls, but she doesn't have that human spirit, that understanding of other people. I mean, I know people who lack empathy, who have more understanding about human feelings and have more regard for people than she does. That's fucking saying something. It's not to disrespect people who lack that kind of emotional empathy. They might have that cognitive empathy. Fine by me. But she doesn't, that seems absent in her personality, in her behavior, how she conducts herself. She can get by as if, because it would teach her that there are just some boundaries you don't cross, that there are just some things you don't do. She didn't evaluate, is this going to be productive? Is this information going to be helpful? Can I use this information on my platform ethically, legally, without breaking the terms of service? If she doesn't give a shit about the family, if she gave a shit about her channel, the quality of her work or whatever, which she did not apparently evaluate. But I also think she's trying to pass herself off as this ersatz professional because that kind of fake call for understanding, that fake outrage that she has about this might look good in a court of law because or civil court, whatever she's facing, with some of her defamation suits, whatever's going on with her there. um, you know, you can't establish yourself as a reporter if you're not going to take the responsibility as a reporter. Reporters and news people are fucking criticized left and right. They always are. I'm sure even Katie Joy has done that. But she's like, well, the media's reporting this and this and that. Well, she doesn't know how we responded to that information. She doesn't know how this public information request and misusing that to harass and attack people. Okay, she doesn't know how we reacted to those things. I'm not going to say everything that I reported, that I saw, that I drew concern about. Okay. But knowing Katie Joy specifically in her behavior online, the things that she does it out of spite, hatred, contempt. She lies about things. She makes interpretations about things. And she can do that. But when it comes to somebody's suicide, how could she possibly know? Okay. She doesn't. And making remarks about it as if they're facts is pretty ghoulish, in my opinion. So I just wanted to say, going back to the public information situation, I'm sure you are all aware of the Zav Girl um, debacle of last year, where she shared autopsy information photos on her Patreon account. She put it behind a paywall. There was some controversy about how she was able to obtain that information, the price paid, things like that. I found that alarming. And I wasn't really clear on that. I called that particular office and I made my own inquiry about that. Like, how could they release that information, And it was probably my tone of voice that wasn't received well. The way that I was I was like the Inquisition when asking them questions about this. So, of course, they said, well, it's a public record request. I had my ass handed back to me very professionally, but I didn't get all the answers I should have gotten. There was a better way to correct me and to give me that insight and information. But again, it was Zav Girl's right to access that information. And she did. Now, there were people telling her ahead of time, her subscribers, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not a good idea. She was warned. And I didn't see anything beforehand where she had a concern about it. I don't think she considered, I think she already had her mind set about that. So, of course, her Patreon was nuked, thankfully, because she was selling that information behind a paywall. Well, who's going to access it? There are weirdos who are going to access it and pay for it. They will pay money to see this kind of information, and not for good reasons. So now, she degraded the integrity of a FOIA request, used that information improperly on a platform, got banned for it. But she also caused a lot of problems for the surviving family of that child. They're re-traumatized. They just got through a hellacious, awful trial. They just got through it. They just got the justice they deserved. They don't have their child back. The brutality in which that child suffered is something that's going to be repeated on YouTube. And you could see the exasperation in the father's face about this. And the prosecutor of that case spoke out. It made global news. Zavgirl's response was it was almost like a monotone response. I'm not against, we can't tone police people. We can't, really, ideally, right? Because we don't know where they're coming from. We don't know. Some of the stuff seems, like I said, on that's like that clean veneer underneath that rotting shit underneath, right? But it seemed like it was a logical response to it. But there was no consideration of what her other subscribers had said. There was no honesty about that. I think she just wrote that to deflect away responsibility. And her apology, if she made one, was nonsense. It didn't matter. The damage was already done. And there was some controversy of whether the records people were supposed to release the photos, how much was paid, whatever. I don't know if Sav Girl recovered the costs. Who cares, But Sav Girl is not an educator. Sav Girl's not a researcher. This was not about educational inquiry. Who the fuck wants to see an autopsy photo of a child? Who the fuck is going to find information about it? If you want to know about autopsies, okay, question them with a university. Get an education, become a person who works as a forensic scientist, or whatever. But she completely sensationalized the death of this child, with terrible consequences to the family, terrible ramifications, that their son in death cannot even have peace. And I almost connect this in many ways to, my Blue Jays are calling. My Blue Jays outside are calling for their breakfast, so that's why you're hearing that noise. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. It's almost akin to what KJ is doing to the Brown family. Whatever you might think of the Brown family and the show, whatever, the fact of the matter is that there are still grieving parents. They still have to process things. Family problems are complex, and you would think that as much as KJ goes back and forth in her family, because she probably never knew which way she was coming or going in her upbringing. But I don't know. You would think she would understand that and make those connections, but she doesn't. She doesn't employ that invisible boundary in her own life. Okay, the only boundary she has is a shield. You can't criticize me, but I can criticize you. You can't hurt me, but I can hurt you, It's really awful. So it seems by all accounts that at this point that Katie Joy is probably going to face some kind of consequences with that video, that suicide topic. Um, mock, essentially um, naming the victim in this case, putting their face all over videos, harassing the family in that way. And yes, it is intended to harass the family. It is intended to make life difficult because even her response, some of her responses she got in support of her are kind of saying, yeah, well, that family's shitty and this and that. Maybe, but they still have to process this tragedy. We don't know what's going on in that family in reality. We don't know what's happening. Things could be a lot worse than what we expect. Um, People don't have any concept of what's real and what's not real. But the real consequences here, it hurts the survivors of these tragedies. It hurts them because they're re-traumatized from it. This young man's suicide, I mean, his experiences should be respected, but I don't think it's a matter of topic to express how much you hate a polygamous family or that with that kind of living arrangement. I think that's wrong. I don't defend polygamy. I don't have a high opinion of it. I've, you know, my step grandmother gave me some things to think about, not for my own life, but not to be too judgmental. And I think she was right about that because I was very judgmental. This was like a long, long time ago. Katie, I mean, I want to say Katie Joy shouldn't access these records. She shouldn't be allowed to do that, but they can't stop her. But something has to be done when she abuses that privilege, when she does these kind of things to dox, harass, and sensationalize and misuse people's medical information and background information in order to harass. And people's experiences around that, people are talking about their experiences with it. So it'll be interesting to see what the Brown family does in response to this. It'll be interesting to see YouTube's response to this. And whenever I get any information that I've requested and I have understood that, I will definitely share that with you. All right, I'm going to close this video for now. I will talk to you again soon. Thanks so much for listening. Bye-bye. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to add an update to this video. I did this video early this morning, and I just came across some information on Nene Marie's YouTube page, her community section. And it had some very compelling information on there. Apparently, there seems to have been some discrepancy between what Katie Joy reported in her Instagram post and I think on her latest YouTube video regarding a visit from the Flagstaff Police Department and what Flagstaff Police Department actually stated. Luckily, they have a space for these types of calls and inquiries where it doesn't block up the emergency line, and I think people are using that wisely from what I understand. I love that. I love the Flagstaff Police Department page for many reasons. I think that they have really done a great job in terms of representing their community's needs for people who are in crisis and reacting to crisis in a very responsible and respectful manner. It seems anyway, because I had to go through that page to make inquiries based on the public records stuff that Katie Joy had reposted on YouTube. Now, um, I had a question about where this particular information um, was coming from, the information about Flagstaff Police Department saying that there had been no such incident that happened where they showed up in a crisis call as it was described. It seems like Katie, again, hastily, stupidly, or did it with to sensationalize um, an event that actually didn't even happen, or she fell for some information from some third party viewer, either trolling her or whatever. But Katie didn't do her checking whatsoever because she's so um, dead set against getting public records to report things, of course, to use against people and to harass them, but she won't do that with an alleged photograph to confirm whether or not that was a real incident. So, Nene Marie stated in response to me that there was an article in Touch Weekly. I think she said she's going to pin that, which would be helpful. The only thing is, it has information about Garrison's suicide on there because they had done a public records pull from that and are reporting kind of similarly. But, you know, but the fact of the matter is that there is an important quote in that article, and that is that no such incident could be accounted for. I'm paraphrasing there. Like I said, which means Katie Joy got her information wrong. She didn't do her due diligence. I told you, the woman's a professional nobody. Lying for cash, hastily posting crap for cash. Didn't do her research, didn't do anything. She is adamant about being on the level of other reporters, that she can do this kind of thing when, in my opinion, she has no business doing that. Now, in Nene Marie's commentary, there's an important email on there. Now, I am not the type of person who makes nuisance reports on creators I don't like. I don't want to do that for a number of reasons. I don't want to, and I'm not saying that this is encouraged or anything. It's not, but I kind of stray away from that. I'm really worried of abusing the system. Yeah, of course, because of my channel, but I just don't want to make it difficult for people to lodge complaints in the future. I mean, it's already difficult trying to um, get YouTube to do the right thing on these matters. And um, something that isn't really related to this community, but there is a channel that I watch. It's called Tribal People Try Things. And it's a very informative, wonderful, wholesome, interesting type of page because you get to meet people you wouldn't normally meet in your everyday life, and they talk about their life experience in the most wonderful way possible, and they have gotten such a positive response. Now, many months ago, they lost their ad revenue. I think they might have gotten it back, but I had not followed up in their page in a while. And so it's just, and it was for something, they said there was some unusual activity. I don't know if it was in the comments or and something in the traffic or whatever. I mean, Katie Joy probably buys subscribers, right? Um, to bulk it up, but there's nothing suspicious about that. But YouTube takes down wholesome channels that celebrates life, that brings culture to the community, cultural education, um, you know, wonderful exchanges between different groups of people and different societies with different beliefs in such a wholesome, wonderful way. Um, Now, that particular page does have a, a Patreon, and they are dependent on that income because of where they live, and it's very hard. Jobs are very difficult to come by, good paying work, and um, this is their work, this is their job, sharing with the community. But yet, we have assholes, asshats like Katie Joy abusing her YouTube privileges, and she barely gets a fucking slap on the hand for that. So I don't do revenge reporting or anything, but because I do have legitimate concerns that she's posting fake information that could potentially harm a family, I am going to report that. I am going to make that inquiry in email expressing my concerns on two of her videos. And I did end up seeing the video. I said I didn't see the video the first time, and I reported it because I knew it would contain that information. I did end up seeing that because I had to um, really think point by point here what was compromising the community guidelines and so on, because I want to make a smart report. And also for this fake news of hers regarding the police department, I have to go over to Instagram and report that as well. I have no problem doing that because, like I said, it's a matter. It's not a matter of her having a right to access stuff and reporting it. She does these kind of things to harass people. She is breaking the terms of service with some of that content regarding the Brown family, and she keeps doing this kind of thing. And I will express that as respectfully as possible with detailed pieces of information which support my concern about it. Anyway, that's it. I want to thank again um, Nikki and Nini Marie for bringing different types of information um, to our attention. And I appreciate Nini Marie for answering questions and following up with that and stuff like that. So thank you for that. And um, I did find balls on Instagram, so I immediately followed. So that should be interesting. But Katie Joy hasn't blocked me. I'm not subscribed. So I do have access to that, to her videos and stuff. Anyway, take care and have a good weekend. Bye for now.